Yesterday, the House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer released a third bank memo that has been obtained by the committee's probe into the influence peddling schemes of the Biden family. And the committee says foreign payments to the Biden family now add up to over $20 million. Well, there's tons of smoke coming out of the Hunter Biden investigation. And quite frankly, the question begs itself, how big is the fire from which all this smoke ascends? And how in the world could Vice President then, Joe Biden, have not known about all his son's business dealings, seeing that they spoke on a regular basis? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Congressman Matt Rosendale. He serves on the Committee on Veterans Affairs and Natural Resources, and he's a great member of the House Freedom Caucus. He represents the 2nd Congressional District of Montana. Congressman Rosendale, always great to see you. Welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Jody. I'm glad I'm joining you from Montana this afternoon, though, I have to tell you.
Well, I know compared to the swamp, Montana is absolutely a heaven in so many ways. I love your great state. Let's get into this. What is your basic assessment of the latest memo that has been released from Oversight Chairman Comer?
I think Jamie's doing a great job. He has exposed the Biden crime family for what they truly are. They have sold our nation out. The vice president, or the president, while he was serving as vice president with China and his son to Kazakhstan, Russia, Ukraine. People wonder why I've been so opposed to sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine during this conflict with Russia. While it's an unprovoked war, Russia is completely wrong. What I do know is when you send cash monies to a country like that, all it's going to do is continue to perpetuate and worsen the corruption that has taken place and had been taking place for many years before Russia ever invaded the nation. And now we are seeing by bank statements that Hunter Biden was tied directly to it. Again, we know that at that time, Vice President Biden was negotiating deals with China, and we have seen that his entire family has been enriched. And it is absolutely disturbing to see that the current resident in the White House, President Biden, basically profited off of selling our nation off to foreign countries.
Yeah, it really is disturbing, and it seems like every day more and more smoke is coming to surface here. And yet what's puzzling and disturbing to me, quite frankly, not surprising, but nonetheless disturbing, is how the legacy media looks at all this, and it's like they look at one piece of the puzzle, and then they say, okay, well, that's a piece of the puzzle, and they ignore it totally. But the reality is we have this piece, and we have this piece, and we have all this starting to come together. What is the picture beginning to look like in your mind as all the pieces begin to fit into place?
Oh, it was absolutely a pay-to-play operation that the vice president, or the president now, President Biden, had set up with his family so that they could all benefit from his position of power. And he sold that power. You know, it's interesting, Jody. We had a gun store in Great Falls, Montana, about a month ago that was raided. By 20 armed IRS agents, not ATF. This was a gun store and a shooting range, and they had 20 IRS agents raid that store. They were fully dressed in body armor, and each one was outfitted with an AR-15, and they took 13,800 documents. We haven't seen anything like that happen to the Delaware residents of President Biden, with all of the clear transactions that have been exposed through the bank records that Representative Jamie Comer has been able to acquire, and show the trail of corruption that leads directly to the White House door.
Wow. Yeah, I did read about that raid that you're referencing, and yeah, the comparison between the two is stunning. You know, it was somewhat comical to watch. I don't know if you saw yesterday on Fox News, Peter Doocy, he actually asked about the testimony of Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer. to the president, and he said to the president, he says that you were on speakerphone more than 20 times, and that exchange, here's what the president had to say.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them, talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business to anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Was that a lousy question?
It's a perfectly good question, and the rest of the country is wondering why there's not any professional curiosity with any so-called journalists across the nation. It's up to Peter Doocy to try and expose this. It's just unbelievable. Again, President Trump makes a telephone call to Zelensky and says, if you don't clean up your corruption, we're not going to continue to send you aid. Joe Biden calls up Zelensky and says, if you don't drop an investigation against my son, then you're not going to get aid. Oh, and by the way, we want to make sure that he is positioned on all of these boards so that he can generate revenue for the Biden crime family. The people across this country don't have problems understanding this terrible double standard. And if I've said it once, I've said it 50 times. The equal justice under the law can't be a slogan, Jody. It's got to be a reality. And right now, we are not witnessing that. And I'll tell you, if I have a couple of minutes, I know that you're going to go into Christopher Wray and the FBI later, but I have to tell you, as a Catholic, I am deeply, deeply offended by the way that they have turned additional investigative services against Catholics. And I will tell you how I feel and how a lot of Catholics feel. This nation is under greater threat of harm from the Catholic who's sitting in the White House than they are from Catholics who are attending Latin masses.
Absolutely. And that's one reason I wanted to have you on today, because I know you're a devout Catholic. We've had many conversations on the House floor and other places about your faith, and I have deep, deep respect for you. But this issue, the FBI Director Christopher Wray, I mean, he testified just last month that this memo going after Catholics was just a single product coming from a single field office, and now it appears that simply is not true. Your take on that?
It is not true. They proved that it was corroborated between Portland and Los Angeles and Richmond. And if Christopher Wray says, I was aghast, and when I found this out, I removed this document from the FBI, what was the word he used? System. I removed it from the FBI system. Jody, if he was truly aghast, how about the people that prepared it being removed from the FBI system? That's what he should have done. That's what a leader would have done. We've got some bad eggs within these Department of Justice systems, the FBI, and they're conducting surveillance on American citizens, and it is wrong. And so I will say once again, we've got more problems and a larger threat from the Catholic who is sitting in the White House than Catholics that are practicing their faith in a Latin Mass.
Exclamation point to that. And, you know, I look at all this, Congressman, and you just wonder the double-tiered system of justice, the destruction of the FBI, all of this. We've got to have transparency. We've got to get to the bottom of this. And I just want to, again, say thank you for your incredible leadership on so many fronts. And thank you again for coming on the program this evening.
Thanks for having me on, and thank you to the Family Research Council. You're putting a lot of hope in a lot of people's lives.